It is Big Blue Draft Night Preview presented by Van Heusen as the Giants getting ready for the 2020 draft in a very unique situation. And we were joined by the head coach of the New York Giants, Joe Judge. And Coach, obviously working from home, being in Massachusetts, unique circumstances. Overall, how's it gone for you? And has the family been keeping their part as far as the social distancing?
I'll tell you what, we've definitely been socially distancing. I don't know if that applies so much in the house. We're a lot closer right now together, a little bit on top of each other. But in terms of the entire process, I'll tell you what, it's been really smooth. You know, the staff's worked tremendously. You know, we got a lot of guys for the first time using a lot of technology. They figured it out remarkably well. We got a great IT department and video staff who's really helped bridge the gap for a lot of us. And, you know, I don't want to say seamless, but I'll tell you what, it's taken some effort, and we've really gotten to where we need to be.
Coach, you've been through your free agency period, and you're obviously getting ready for the draft. Can you give a little insight on what you did in free agency and how that kind of leads you into your thought process in the draft?
Well, I'll tell you what, it's not like we tried to answer one question in free agency and open up, you know, another spot to fill in the draft. Really, what we wanted to do across the entire roster was just find good, solid football players who really fit what we're looking for in terms of, you know, smart, tough, and dependable. And we found some guys out there that we really think are going to fit the Giants system and schemes in a lot of different ways. And, you know, we moved forward with it. I think we picked up a crew of really good guys who are going to come in here and compete. They're going to add to the guys we have on the roster. And then in the draft, again, we're looking for the best players available, really at all positions. So we didn't try to answer one question on one side of the ball in free agency and attack it on the other side in the draft. Really, at this point, we're just looking for good players across the board. And I think the thing everyone has to remember, too, is the process of building a roster never really stops. You know, it may start free agency in the offseason, continues into the draft. Free agency goes through the entire spring as it is. You've got rookie camps, you have rookie mini camps, you have tryouts. You go through training camp, whether that's claiming guys off waivers, whether it's trades with other teams. And then once you get to that 53 for the opening weekend, you know, there's still a lot of transactions that happen, especially those first few weeks of the season. You know, really once the trade deadline hits in that mid-season point, you have a better idea on the final part of your roster, but there's still transactions that happen. Guys get cut, you know, guys at that point may come back from an injury and at that point are eligible to play. So the building of the roster really never stops. We're just in a different phase of it right now in the offseason.
Coach, I know versatility is a word that you love to use for your players. Obviously, for right now, everybody has to be versatile given the climate right now. When you look at this team, and normally you would have a chance to stand in front of them in a team meeting room and address them. Now you're going to have to do it virtually. Take us inside that first message to your team. What are you going to tell them, and what are you going to ask of them?
Well, the first thing we're going to express to the players is the expectations just of what we're looking for this spring. I think it's important that they understand that the offseason is a little different, and they have to understand the goal of what we're trying to get out of it. And to be honest with you, at this point, we're trying to lay a foundation. So, look, the initial part of this program is going to be making sure everyone's on the same page in terms of how to use it and access the information. The second part of it is how we interact with the players and the coaches to make sure that we're getting that information and can use it as we get forward. It's a situation where we can't teach in a classroom, go on the field, and then execute, whether it's phase 2 or phase 3 together. But it's also a situation that gives us a unique opportunity for extended exposure in longer meetings that sometimes you don't get in this part of the spring. We have to take advantage of that meeting time. I think the thing that's been a little bit lost in this that, you know, is the actual socialization of your team. And because we're all segmented, the things you really kind of miss out on team building are the little things. And, you know, Carl, Shaun, you guys know this, sitting at a table eating lunch after a workout, you know, maybe seeing each other on the weekends or golfing in the afternoon on a nice spring day. And we've got to find a way as a team to make sure that when we come here in training camp that we don't have strangers. You know, we have guys who are on the roster, but we have new coaches, we have new players, and continue to be new players added to this roster. And we've got to bridge that gap to make sure when we see each other in August that it may have been through a different medium, all right, but that we've got familiarity with each other. And hopefully life gets back to normal for more than, you know, just this reason, but for the football world, hopefully we can get them in the springtime so we can physically help these guys condition, but that we can at least sit down, look each other eye to eye, and shake hands finally.
Coach, I have a question. We have some season ticket holders that weighed in with some questions as well. And this one comes from Brett Savio with regards to his 9-year-old son, Luke. They're so excited for the season. They're happy to have you as part of the New York Giants program. You talked about team building. What have the challenges been as you've put a new staff together to build team within a new group of coaches?
I'll tell you what, on the surface, you would think it's the separation from us not being together. I think we had a tremendous first part of the spring together. We got late in January, all came together, had a really good February, good first part of March before we got on the road. And then I think the thing we've been able to bridge the gap with is we've got a lot of really like-minded coaches on the staff. There's a lot of really good people. So they've done a tremendous job of reaching out to each other just socially and making contacts with each other. The wives have been talking to each other. We're trying to bridge the gap even with a little bit with the kids. We're meeting on a daily basis. Like everybody else in America, like we're doing right now, it's just over a different medium. As far as the team building, Brett, with the coaching staff, I think we laid enough of a foundation early on in the spring that it carried over to this point where we're separate, that it hasn't affected us too much.
With this draft and with the way everything has transpired, have you found yourself having more conversations than probably would normally happen with these college coaches as you try to get more of an idea as, hey, what's the kid like in the weight room? What's he like in the classroom? What can he, can't he do? Have you had to lean on that a little bit more this year?
I don't know if the conversation has been more in number, because whether you're on the campus at a pro day, you're still going to reach out and talk to those same coaches, the strength coach, the head coach. I will say, though, the access we have to certain coaches because of relationships we have with them has benefited us. We've got a lot of coaches on the staff who have prior experience in college, and whether they've been coaching players directly or some of these guys come out that they've recruited, there's some established relationships with the players themselves. The other thing that has helped us is we do have a broad network of coaches. It's nice to be able to sit there and watch tape on a guy and say, we need to find out something more about him. And someone in the group says, hey, you know what? I worked on the staff with the offensive coordinator. Let me give him a buzz and really find out about him. What you find out about a lot of guys is, and good nature is, coaches don't want to hurt their players. So a lot of times you go into a college and they're going to tell you all the positives about somebody. What you're looking for is someone who's going to tell you the hard truth. Okay? You don't want someone to try to kill a player, but you want to know what makes them tick as well. What's been a challenge for them over those 3 or 4 years in college? And that way you have a better insight into how you can coach them more effectively and help them be a professional.
Coach, we appreciate a couple minutes. I know that you're busy with draft stuff following us, but good luck this week with the draft coming up. And thank you so much for spending a few minutes with us.
Well, thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it. Appreciate the time.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
Hey, Giants fans, Saquon Barkley here. You want to see more videos? Subscribe below.